Did it start? Are we going? Where did the countdown go?
Oh, we're live. We're 6 seconds in.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. New brand to the Conversational Pace channel. We love when new brands make their way to the studio. We have the Saucony Endorphin Rift. This shoe came out in July, and it's a shoe that has definitely been on my radar ever since I think I saw it get announced at the running event in November of 2022. Ultimately because it's supposed to be an even lighter weight, non-carbon plated endorphin edge. I mean, that's pretty much all it's supposed to be. I think it's like the same exact midsole tooling, but with no carbon plate. Unfortunately, this review is not a full-length 100-mile shoe review. In one of our previous videos, we asked the viewers if it would be worthwhile to still do a review for shoes that we deem, I guess, to not make the cut for the full 100-mile test.
Yep.
And a couple weeks ago, we agreed that this was one of those shoes, unfortunately. So I only have 25 miles on this shoe. Finn, how many miles did you run in it?
47 on 7 runs.
Yeah, so definitely far from the 100. And like, we definitely could have taken it to the 100-mile mark, but it kind of would have ultimately just been like 100 junk miles and nothing of like actual good testing quality. We'll get into all of the likes and dislikes in just a sec. Before we get into that, I just wanted to say that these shoes were provided to us by Saucony and Running Warehouse, but we're under no financial obligation to say whether we like a product or not, because we want to keep these reviews authentic and beneficial for you. Nobody will get to preview or watch this footage before it gets published to YouTube. The shoe is $170. The weight of mine came in at 9.7 ounces or 275 grams, and that's in a size 10. The stack height of the shoe is 27 millimeters in the forefoot and 33 millimeters in the heel, making for a 6 millimeter drop. Quick rundown of the materials of the shoe. The upper is pretty simple, maybe debatedly too simple. We'll get into that in a minute. But yeah, the whole midfoot and forefoot is just a one-piece engineered mesh upper. There is actually a pretty robust toe cap that's pretty protective. There's a plastic mesh that kind of serves as like an exoskeleton around the back half of the shoe and going into the heel cup. There is an actual plastic heel cup as well to give the heel a little bit more structure and rigidity. There's no tongue on the shoe. Instead, the mesh of the forefoot just kind of gets cut out and they insert it in like almost this stretchy, like neoprene type feeling material. It's got just a little bit of squish to it. And then they sewed on one additional piece of foam towards the top just to help, prevent any lace bite. And then like, there's this weird, like, I don't even know what to call it, but there's just like a tube of material going all the way around the opening of the shoe. And I just feel like there had to have been a slightly less abrasive way to tie off all the materials. I guess like this was one of those shoes where we both kind of agreed, like, this is definitely don't wear no-show socks with this shoe.
No.
Type shoe. Cause like I could feel myself getting like started to get shredded at the front and on the back.
Achilles tendon alert.
Yes, absolutely. 100%. That's actually pretty much it. Kind of a minimal amount of padding around the ankle and the heel collar as well. The midsole is a nice, generous slab of Saucony's Power Run PB foam, which is their super foam that you see in the whole Endorphin line, road or trail. They tune it slightly differently, just depending on model to model. But this foam, it feels very similar in terms of kind of the bounce and squishiness and rebound to something like the Saucony Endorphin Speed series, which is kind of like their super trainer. It's definitely got a little bit of a rocker shape to it. Yeah, also feels very similar to the Endorphin Edge, just doesn't have that carbon plate. Instead, there is just I think it's plastic or some sort of material. It's just a rock plate, so it's fully just for impact protection, and that's just right under the forefoot. I don't think it goes into the heel. That's it for the midsole. And then the outsole is Saucony's own Power Track rubber, and I love the design of this outsole. They're 4.5 millimeter lugs. It seemed like a lot of the shoes that we've been testing recently have been in that 3 millimeter lug range, which is fine for where I live, but I know you've always wanted like just a little bit more bite.
Yep.
Finn, why did you ultimately decide to cut the testing short on this shoe?
Yeah, and I think as I'm going through some of my issues or objections with the shoe, I'll probably reiterate a lot of what you said. But as you were saying about the upper, there is no tongue here. It's just a single patch of that thicker mesh. There's the finger loop adhered to the front of the elastic cutoff on the upper. It's sort of that full booty design. These have been more hit than miss for me in the past. Like we reviewed the Hokas in all 2. We reviewed the Solomon Pulsar Trail 2 earlier this year. I liked that design on those shoes. It worked for me. In the case of this particular upper, the issue I had is there's not really much towards the end of the shoe to protect the toes and the foot from the top and the sides. I did find, especially as I'll get into on like technical terrain that I was running on, you will feel any rocks or loose scree that you hit. I did see in some other reviews that sort of the tapering on the front of the toe box here maybe went a bit too far. I think I would agree. Another issue for me, my big toe really disliked the medial side of the toe guard. I think it had to do with the tapering again. It rubs really badly on down steps. So if you're like when I was running up at Snowbird on a lot of those cat track trails, side trails where, you're running anything from 20% to 40% grade downhills, it rubs extremely badly. I was actually going to say, like, as you were saying, the outsole, the lug size on these, the outsole is amazing. Like this is one of the best. Outsole. This is maybe my second favorite outsole after the VJ Ultra 2 that we reviewed maybe a year ago. But I think that the advantages of this outsole, especially on descents, is sort of canceled out by like the lack of foothold on the shoe. So yeah, a lot of it all of my objections in the shoe have to do with the upper. Another thing here, like you can see sort of like how the lacing is structured. I think, we could have had maybe 2 or 3 more lacing eyelets to create more stability in the upper, but I feel like I'm rambling. How about you? What were some of yours?
Yeah, I mean, the ultimate, like why I cut this review short was I couldn't run downhill in this shoe. And it's kind of like for the reasons you said, is like this upper, I just could not create any sort of lockdown with this upper. The shoe just feels so imbalanced in that the midsole and outsole feels ready to smash mountains, but then you throw this upper on and there was no amount of just cranking the laces down to keep my feet from going forward. Like there was nothing I could do. And even like a downhill, like 10%, like, 8%, like couple 100 feet a mile downhill. Like that's a lot of very like mellow dirt roads. My toes are straight to the front. And I'm just like, I'm not losing toenails over 100-mile review. And I think one of the biggest problems is kind of like you said, there's only 4 eyelets. Like 4 eyelets? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I think the booty construction worked great on the Solomon shoes and some of the other ones because there was at least 6, maybe even 7 eyelets worth of laces. And like, that's just pretty standard, kind of a thing that they figured that out like years ago. And that was my biggest worry ever since I saw a picture of this shoe last fall was, oh man, that shoe's going to be so fun, but I hope they didn't screw up with this upper that looks really cool, but I feel like isn't going to be functional. And after the first run, it was such a letdown because this is one of the shoes where like, unless your foot fits the shoe perfectly, the upper is just probably not going to work for you. The best run I had in this shoe was up in Eugene, Oregon, when I was up there for the Prefontaine Classic. I just went and ran like 10 miles around Pre's Trail, which is flat and bark chip. And this midsole foam and like the rocker, the roll, great. And the shoe was awesome when I didn't have to run any downhills. But if I'm going to do that, then I'm just going to get like the Endorphin speed. I'll just get the road shoe. I don't need to get a big trail shoe to run flat roads in. But like ultimately that's where this shoe was the best for me.
One other thing that I wanted to say, and I've learned a ton from you and from doing all of these shoe reviews, and I think I've always known it intuitively, but now I have like the vocabulary for it. Upper security is way more important than any of the benefits you get from outsole grip. And I think that's why in the past I've found that a lot of my favorite trail shoes are road shoes because of the benefits of the upper. And like, I think anytime a company is delving into the trail running space, before you get into all of the hoopla around carbon plated trail shoes, before you get into like lug depth and stuff like that, like how well are you constructing the upper? To me, it's the most fundamental piece of the trail shoe design.
Yeah, that's a great point. You're not going to make a great trail shoe just by having a great outsole. Yeah, you're right. That's actually that's a great debate topic. Like, what's more important, the security of the upper or the quality of the outsole rubber? And
I think it's the upper.
It seems like as of right now, like the current trail like media space would say it's the outsole because it's like Vibram everything right now. And I was actually thinking about that on my run today. You know how they say like there's no such thing as like bad weather, just like bad clothes or something like that. There's no such thing as bad shoe grip, just bad foot placement.
Oh, so true.
What do you want to see changed for the next version of the shoe, or do you even want to see another version of this shoe?
Well, I was telling you offline that like maybe I thought it was like it didn't make sense in Saucony's lineup, but after talking with you, I think it does have a place. I do think there are some maybe simple adjustments that can be made. I have more of a question for you. It's like, do you want to see like more eyelets on the upper, or do you want to see like these brown strips like extended closer down towards the midsole foam? To me, either one of those options could solve a lot of the issues I have.
I want to see a complete redesign for this upper. Like, I want them to take this
Matrix
upper. I just want them to throw it in the trash. Like, I just want them to, you just take the Peregrine upper and just put it on this shoe. Like, they have a lot of trail shoe uppers that work. Actually, all of their uppers work. I think their next worst one might be the Endorphin Edge, and that's just because it's like a little scratchy. But even that one, I think, works great, or at least good enough. So like, I just want them to put a normal trail shoe upper on this shoe, and I think it will be fixed. I don't want them to change anything underfoot.
I don't know what we could call this segment in the future, but you know how like you didn't really like the Hokas in all one, but then they made these like fundamental massive updates for the two, and you love the two. I think this shoe could be a really great candidate for a V2 like upper redesign that transforms the shoe, and it instantly catapults it into the realm of like, great shoes across the board.
Yes, I agree. If this shoe had an upper that made even like 20% sense, this would be immediately thrown into like trail shoe of the year type category. I like the midsole and outsole that much, where if they just put pretty much any other upper on it, it's going to be great. So I really hope that the Endorphin Rift sees a Rift V2 and that it just gets a new upper. Yeah, that's all I want to see changed for this shoe.
That's all I have to say about that.
But if what we said you don't believe at all, and you still do want to try this shoe, we have a link to purchase from our friends over at Running Warehouse. Because who knows, maybe all of our dislikes is actually exactly what you've been looking for. And then if that's the case, lucky you.